we began, a small group of us coalescing around the idea back in early 2013 around a love of craft beer and a desire to do business a little differently, move away from the traditional way of doing business in a true corporation sense and move into a more democratic way of doing business. So the company, Together We're Bitter, incorporated in late 2013, and during a 3-year period, we acquired a number of different worker owners. My partner Cullum is the brewer. We have 2 trades people on our team, so we have a master electrician and a sanitary welder, plumber, pipe fitter. We have a graphic designer that works at Conestoga. We have a marketing guru, and I myself do all of the financial and bookkeeping aspects of the company. The main idea, the goal behind the business, the vision was to create a really unique craft brewery in Kitchener to fill what we considered a bit of an underserved market in the KW region. I mean, the area has over 500,000 people, and it certainly can sustain and still can sustain more craft breweries.
I think we all wanted to start a brewery, but just didn't kind of have the guts to do it. So coming together as a bunch of people just seemed like the cool thing to do, or at least the less risky thing to do. And then, of course, now we're just into it as thick as we can.
The idea, the impetus for it was recognizing that tourism is replacing a lot of extractive industries in rural areas and extractive and manufacturing, and it's creating not so great jobs, service jobs. I'm not saying they're not great jobs. They're hard jobs. They're good jobs. They're noble jobs, but they're paid poorly. And the people who run service industry businesses oftentimes are the only people who are able to make a living out of it. That or some of the management people in it.
I've always thought that it would be fun to just be involved with a production like this, with an operation like this. Little did I know how much else was going to be involved with it, not just wiring things up. It's, you know, having to have meetings, and we have extensive meetings through being a co-op, and you have to disseminate your information. Everything that's going on has to be passed around. You can't hold stuff in. You have to pass it out to the other members so everybody knows what's going on.
We initially thought that the most difficult part of the business would be to acquire the actual brewing equipment. You know, obviously the capital expense of purchasing new and or used equipment we knew was obviously going to be quite expensive. But what we didn't account for was that we actually ended up getting a system for a very reasonable price. If folks come into the brewery, they will get a really neat first-hand tour of a system that we bought off Kijiji for you know, very inexpensively, that we had fitted up for over a period of 6 to 8 months.
When he threw open the garage door on the storage unit, it was Sputnik, our all-in-one brew house, laying on its side, and then the 3 15-hect stainless steel fermenters, jacketed, standing up there, and we're like, whoa! Like, this is an incredible. This is better than I thought it was going to be. I did a little bit of research and looked online and found that it was used initially at a brewery called Nautilus, something Nautilus in Split, Croatia, which is right on the Dalmatian coast, on the Adriatic, right across from Italy. Ben was working his way along on making this with Sputnik work, which was an insane story in and of itself. He had to fit it up from European to North American standards, and we had to get the Canadian Safety Authority in, CSA, the electrical inspector in to rate it, and we had to get transformers and get it up to spec for Canadian standards. In addition to that, trying to figure out how to brew on it, and so that was the most convoluted thing that that we had to deal with. We had brought some of our friends in that were brewers, and they were like, good luck with that, guys. So we're like, and one of our mottos here, in addition to we may not have done it right, but we did it ourselves, is we are a group of people who refuse to acknowledge our own limitations. And that's not a good thing necessarily, but it tends to work when you're faced with a convoluted system that shouldn't work.
All right, we're now here with Rob once again. We're down at the bar, and he's got 3 beers for me to sample here. So Rob, which ones do I have here, in which order?
Yeah, right. So you have the Belgian Wit, although that's maybe misleading because we use a German. It's a T58 strand. It's a German yeast. You have the Maggie's Farm, which is an American Pale, and the American Brown. I came up with that name, by the way.
The American Brown.
The American Brown, yeah.
Nice.
Super clever.
And it's fitting. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll start with the Belgian Wit.
Sure, yeah. So grab a sip.
Yeah. So what should people be looking for when they try this beer, and so what can people expect actually?
Yeah, so traditionally, like a wit beer, or as we see it, it's going to be a little bit more yeast forward. There's going to be some nice body from the wheat that we brew it in, and there's also going to be those standard kind of issue, the orange zest and the lemongrass, the coriander. We put a bit of black pepper in there, which I'd love to tell you we know why we put the black pepper in, but all we know is that we don't add the black pepper, it doesn't taste the same. So you're not necessarily going to get that out of it. You'll certainly get the coriander.
Yeah.
You'll certainly get the lemongrass and the orange zest.
Yeah, I was going to
Very
say.
summery beer.
So next we have Mary's Farm. Or
Maggie's Farm.
Sorry.
Maggie's Farm, an ode to Bob Dylan or Rage Against the Machine, depending on which version you're more privy to. So that's an American style pale ale.
Yep.
We put 7 hop additions in it. Most of what you're gonna get out of there is like your Centennial, your Cascade hops.
Yep.
So it's fairly citrusy, nice and bitter, but resolves itself quickly.
Yeah. It does. It's almost one of those ones where you expect it to be a bit more punchy at the end, but it's nice. It's rounded, like you mentioned.
Yeah, we hope, anyways. What our goal is to kind of have them balance out.
And last up, we've got the brown ale.
The American Brown, one of my favorites. Just I think because growing up, I didn't get a lot of that in Canada. What you'll find with an American Brown is versus like a UK style brown, there's not going to be as much roasty, kind of nutty coffee flavors that come out of it. It's going to be a little bit drier, which allows the hops to kind of come out and sing.
Which is interesting because, you know, if someone was to nose this, like as I was just doing, I do get a little bit of that coffee, that roasted note,
Yeah.
and then when you taste it, you're expecting more of that sort of deep, rich flavor, and you get more of a hoppy sort of tone to it.
That's exactly
which
right.
is unique. It's not very, I want to say common, but
Yeah, it
the
goes-
ones that I've tried, I haven't seen it a lot.
It's certainly an emerging, I think, beer that we're going to see a lot more of, or I hope we see a lot more of it, just because I mean, it's not objective, but I love the styles.